Good evening. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Probably no notifications went out today. I put this up really late. We had a bunch of stuff going on, and I just didn't get everything out. In fact, I literally went to go live just a few moments before this, and it wouldn't even connect to the server. So anyway, we're on. It's running. It's not going to be a super long one. As I said, I do have some stuff going on behind the scenes. We will talk real quick about the issues with buyers not able to pay. I had 3 today that happened to. The fix is real easy. We'll just shoot that out. If you send them a new invoice, even if you didn't send one to start with, just send them an invoice. If you already sent them an invoice, just send them a new one, and it fixes the issue immediately. Now, I've been told that issue is tied to managed payments. It's happened to me before managed payments, so that's like a known thing. Maybe it's happening more often than not. I can 100% confirm that it is an issue, and eBay has admitted it to people that is the issue, though. There's some kind of technical issue. I would have to assume it's when they've added in the other things. Mine has our airborne on, or FedEx, I think, UPS, and I think I got 4 options on my eBay page now for 4 different types of mail. I know I got the FedEx ups and the regular stuff on there. That seems to fix that issue every single time. And what it seems to be too, I looked into this, not necessarily tied to the label printing or the paying to begin with, but I've had a couple people buy from our store, and they're people that I know. One of them's a Patreon, and I had him on the phone. We were actually talking on the phone because it's somebody I've known for a while, and I met in person. And they paid for an item, and it took like 12 minutes to show up on my end. What it looks like is that there's a delay through the system, the processing system. So when you send out an invoice immediately, let's say somebody sent you 4 offers, 4 items. We'll get to some questions and call it some in here. Let's say somebody sent you 4 offers on 4 different items. When I accept those, the very last offer that I accept, if I'm going to accept them, I'll usually send an invoice out from that sent page or I accept page. And it's probably too quick for the system sometimes to combine them. And that always seems to be the case. I waited on the 4th one today that I had to combine. I had 4 orders literally today that came in. One bought 11 items, one bought 7, 6, and I think the other one bought 8 or something like that too. The last one, I did not send it out after I accepted the last offer. Instead, I waited like 10 or 15 minutes and then sent it out from the sold items page in your hub, and it worked. They never complained. They were able to pay within that time frame right off the bat. I can't say for sure, but whenever I've checked it out, that seems to be the case. So there must be some time delay. And again, I know there's a delay with payments, 100%. It's like anywhere from 4 or 5 minutes to like 15 minutes from what I've seen in the past. And this is confirmed. I've called somebody and had conversations with a couple of people buying stuff. In literally live action, they hit and paid for it, and we sat there and waited. And I turned the timer on, as a matter of fact. You can't hear it running now, but if you ever hear a ticking in the background in any of the videos, I have clocks, vintage Dresden, Germany clock that sits up on one of our shelves, actually. You might see it in a video somewhere, too. It's a $1 item haul. It's been working. I fixed it. It's been running for us for like 4 years since. But anyway, that seems to be a fix for that one. Now, the invoice or the label issue, I've been hearing a lot, and people do send me stuff. I do have screenshots. I've got a video that I started to put together, and I'll have to finish off on that one, discussing it and showing off some of the screenshots that were sent to me. Carl was one of the ones who sent it to me, so thanks again, Carl, on that one. I've seen many more now since then as well, with making like the most expensive form of payment. Somebody was sending something as a postcard. They were sending postcards out, and it was reporting at a $22 fee for express, I think is what it was, or something like that. Every single one that they showed up on there. And the first one they didn't catch, so they ended up paying the 20 some odd dollars. I always do a running total through every single one on the page. Anything over a certain amount, I always pretty much check. especially if I'm just sending out paper one day or something like that, because they're usually in the same range. But I always check them all, and I would recommend every single person out there check what they're setting up for your shipping service for your items when you go to your final page to pay for them in bulk. I don't know how everybody else does it, but if I'm going to ship through eBay, I only use the bulk option. It would be ridiculous to have to go through and do them, one at a time for me, because it's just a bunch of them. And then I can instantly combine without having to worry about sorting which one goes with which. You can just go to the final page where you would print it, you hit the combine orders button, and then boom, it combines them again. Because sometimes I'll have people pay, 4 different times in the day. Sometimes, obviously, they'll pay and I'll have to send a second invoice, no shipping and charge, so I don't have to worry about giving a refund later on as well, too. A lot of people don't realize when they're looking in the categories, some of the categories I sell in, that I have a ton of items, so they don't think that, hey, this might be the same guy or same person, same gal, whatever the case may be. So that's why it happens, and I don't ever fault the person or complain. I just combine everything. Thank you, great, glad to have the service, whatever. Don't ever be rude or worried about it. And if they do end up paying shipping for each one, I do deduct the fees, so I'm not out anything when that happens. If they're spending a ton of money, it might be a different story, but usually that's what I do for that. So just FYI, I probably got 60 or so messages, emails, posts on the shipping label issue alone, just that issue, and then probably dozens on the not being able to pay issue. In fact, I got 2 of those today. So again, that's the issue. Just always resend an invoice, no matter what. And if you don't usually send invoices and wait and they say they can't pay, send a new invoice and it should clear it up. Don't do it immediately, though. As I said, you got to wait a few minutes to do it. I waited 10 or 15 on the last combined order I had to do today, as I said, and it did work just fine after that. So I'm sure it's something to do with how the process is now routed through the system. There's probably a separate server for each, or a separate location for each of the shipping options, FedEx, UPS, and then the post office. And then those all have to be pulled to the actual label page, would be my guess. Just knowing how servers and basically the internet works, that would be my honest guess. So there's got to be a delay, because they might not even be in the same city for all we know. I know it's usually milliseconds, but I do see some processing delays. You can check it out yourself. So if you ever get somebody on that and they're buying something from you, ask them to call you when they pay and just see how long it takes to show up. You can pretty much guesstimate, time-wise. Let's see who else is in here. Again, I did not send out any push notices first thing today. I did, just before the show, send out the Facebook pages. I can always tell when the Facebook pages go out, because the negatives come in from the same couple people who subscribe to my pages just so they can go ahead and ding my thing. I don't really care. It's just petty. It's so petty. YouTube is going to, and I did see something on that too, where you can't leave negatives until you've watched so many minutes of it. So that is coming out. Hey, Daryl, how are you doing? I got Duncan right down below. The stamp guy, Duncan, in Australia. Hey, Dom, how are you doing tonight? Hope you are doing well. I got Penny Day in the house also. Mr. Johnson, Richard Johnson, is in the house. And I got Amazon Seller 99. Thank you very kindly. Yeah, as I said, no notifications today. I was literally at the very last second I could pop that in there. So, let's see here. Let's pop on down. Hey, Gail, how are you doing? I got Melissa right down below that. Let's see here. Bluegrass Picker, how are you doing? Kathy's in the house too. How you doing, Kathy? Are you a collector? Good evening as well. And there's Carl. Kathy's combined shipping is not working at all. Now, I don't have it set up to automatically do it where you can, add the whatever change in. I usually just do it at the end, because the items are different sizes and they may weigh different, and I don't want to mess with it. I just literally add everything up at the end. In my book, it's just easier to physically refund them if you have to, because half the time the calculator doesn't do it correctly, or at the end of the day I still have to mess with it. So I just do them at the end and I'm done. And most of the people who are buying multi-purchases like that from us I've dealt with for quite some time. I mean, I've got customers we've had probably 10 years, literally, quite a few actually. Once you get some customers in a niche market, it's very hard to lose them if you don't, unless you screw up something. I guess that's the biggest thing. If you ruin one of their orders, you don't have it, you're late on shipping it, or it's not as described. Again, that's why I say if you're going to do paper items, you should always scan the items, and that's my opinion. I used to photo them, but scanning on a flatbed, we still do, even if it takes longer these days, because the quality of the image knocks off most of my competitors. Most people aren't scanning the bulk lots of like die cuts or cards or things like that. We scan them all. I don't care if it takes a few extra moments. My sales from the increase in quality on the images pretty much outweighs the time invested in them. Good quality photos are worth the extra time in my book every single time. If you ever do tests, like you're on Amazon or something, or YouTube, or on eBay, whichever the case may be, look at the image quality and look at the sales ranking and things like that, and look where they fall. eBay's, it's easy to do because you can compare comps. Do it on like NOS items for a perfect example. So if they're not using like a good stock image or something, or a good quality image, a junk image will kill their sell-through rate on a new item. NOS again, we're talking about. I always pay attention to all that kind of stuff, of course. Let's hop on down, see who's in here. My shipping label defaulted to first class today for the first time. Was surprised. Jay, how you doing, Jay? Yeah, I've always had it on that. I don't know. I've asked some folks, and most of them don't have more than one or two options. I only have one option on every single listing. I never put two options. For me, I've never had it where it didn't show up on the correct label that I wanted. I haven't seen that yet at all, I think, that I can remember. If it happened, it's happened once or something, and I can't even remember that at this point. I just use one option, and that's it. I know a lot of folks like to have multiple options. I just do first class for anything under a pound, 16 ounces and under. And then just go from there. If they want something different, or they ask for speedier service or something else like that, I'll just offer that option. I don't care. I'll be happy to help them in any way that I can with any of the sales going on. So hang on just a second here. I got to keep track of messages coming in today. Sorry. Okay, let's see here. They need a reverse offer system where you can send the same offer to sellers of the same item. First to accept gets instant payment. Yeah, I don't know how well that would work, but I like just the ability to be able to send offers to watchers in general, because we make a ton of sales from that religiously. I hammer those all the time. I didn't touch them today at all, but normally I hit them all day long. And usually I can run out with like maybe 90 to say 120 offers on average, somewhere in that range, every day of the week, if I do them all throughout the day. Because when you send them out, they do increase and they give you more of them. Because we sent out like 40 yesterday morning, and I think we sent them out the night before too, so it only been a few hours. And then we sent some more out like around lunchtime, and then mid-afternoon, later in the afternoon, and then in the evening. And I think it was over 90 offers we sent out. We sold like 30% of those, so I'm pretty happy with that. Again, with the sale and all that we did, that really brought some more watchers, and it instantly bumped up my amount of offers I could send out just by running a sale on the items. Where are we at? Thanks, James. James Style. Don't forget about your store packing credits. Yeah, it's the end of the quarter, so you get free shipping supplies. I would assume that's what you're referring to. I usually wait till the end of the month from the first. Well, just before they expire is usually when I do it. It depends on what I'm looking for that month. I got a ton of boxes since we had to buy a skid of them because Walmart didn't have them here, and I didn't really feel like going anyway to a different one. So we just ordered them from the box manufacturer. It was like a penny more, I think, a box, or maybe 2 cents. And I had them delivered since I bought a skid free of charge. I had to wait to a specific day when they were in the neighborhood. Otherwise, I would have had to pay for a delivery drop-off. But it's somebody we've dealt with for a while. That's where I get our end cuts for bubble wrap. If you ever want bubble wrap cheap, I would never recommend buying it on eBay or any of those sources. I have people say, go buy it on eBay and blah, blah, blah. End cuts are like half of what you could find it at. I can get like 800 feet of it for like 10 or 15 bucks. Literally, 800 feet, the 18 inches wide usually is what I end up getting. Anywhere from, say, 14 inches to 18 inches wide. What an end cut is, the bubble maker, the bubble wrap guys, they make the envelopes here, the bubble mailers here. And most cities have a couple places that do this. There's 3 in my area. I found a 3rd one. And they'll cut it to customer specs. And once they cut it to customer specs, what's left over at the end of the roll is called an end cut. The bubble wrap comes in, and I've been in their place. The rolls that they cut them from are like 12 feet tall and probably, I don't know, 8 feet wide. And some, I've seen these huge ones there. So they're whacking these things down into multiple smaller pieces with this big machine that does it. And they're end cuts. They don't know what else to do with them. They don't fit specs for something else. And many times you can't put this piece back onto a spindle to cut it again. Once it's cut off of a certain length of roll, they can't use it again. So they ended up selling them to secondary markets for end cuts, they're called. And if it's a good, decent box maker by your house or wherever you're at, we're not in a huge town, and we got 3 of them. If you're in I know Detroit's got a whole bunch. I know Atlanta had a whole bunch because we've been through that area not too far back. They're out there, so look up your box manufacturers, and you can get boxes cheaper there than anywhere else. If I'm going to the box company, I'll just bypass Home Depot for the FBA boxes, because the boxes from the box companies that I get around here are like half the cost. I'm just sometimes lazy to run out to get a few boxes just to run some FBA out or something like that, and it's just not worth the hassle in my book. Gas and time and everything else. You got to figure your time. I don't know what everybody else's time is worth, but mine's considerable amount. I'm well over $100. I pretty much estimate I lose if I just blow it on something stupid, I guess. Anyway. Michelle, how are you doing? I got Dino in the house too, Montreal. We were going to be in that area, actually. We had plans to go into Canada, but with the pandemic, obviously, we're not doing that this year. Tar Heel Picker, good evening. J-May, unless you have a starter store, laugh out loud. Yeah, I don't think the starter store includes that aspect of it. But just for all the other stuff that comes with the starter store, if you pay in advance, a starter store costs just $60 for the entire year and you're done. I would just pay in advance if you can afford it, if that's what you're planning on doing. It always seems to be better. Kathy as well saying, yes, I've been refunding all the time. Hey, Regina, how are you doing as well? Charles Lowe. I got Rob Robinson in here too. Hang on, let me back up. I'm bouncing around. I guess I'm not as organized today at all. Sorry about that. Charles, would love to see a video on how you choose categorizing different items you sell. I talk about it occasionally. If you're referring to, like, if I've got a dog postcard, do I sell it in the dog category versus the postcard category? I would assume that's probably what you're talking about, Charles. I can throw something together. That's a good topic, I would say, too. In fact, if I have got a pen laying around here, usually I've got one, but again, today I'm a little disorganized. I'm trying to get a pen. We'll write that one down because that's not a bad topic. Picking categories. I got that one down, Charles. If you saw my laptop, I've got posties all over. There must be 15 posties on this laptop. I probably got 8 or 10 on this one over here. Every spot in my area has a postie on it usually. I don't know what everybody else is, but I'm a postaholic, I guess you could say. Yeah, Barlight Broker says he's getting $25 for a basic store, $25. What do we get? I think we get $150 a quarter every 3 months. They're giving out every 3 months, and you have, I think, 30 days or something like that to use them. They've bounced that, if I remember right. It used to be a little longer back in the past. I was intending to upgrade to a basic store of the month, but fell behind on listings last month, so didn't need to. Saving up for a scanner. If you don't have a flatbed, Kathy, I would really recommend one for the stamps. I'm sure Duncan, I've seen his store a few times. I'm pretty sure he has the scanner. with stamps, you can just get a stock card and get the clear. Well, most of them have clear, but I usually use a stock card. I've got a white one and a black one, depending on which color the stamps are. If they're multicolor, sometimes the black looks terrible. It's one of the few categories other than jewelry that I use a black background occasionally. Sometimes it's just impossible to get a good image with a... Hey, my dog's down here already. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's just hard to get a good image with, a white background for some of the items and the glare, the glisten, and everything else like that. Anybody who's done a bunch of jewelry will know that that does tend to be an issue. Go on. Now, somebody's making a comment, no mobile users can see your store. All you got to do is save it on the desktop, and you can see anybody's store you want. And a store isn't essential in any way, shape, or form, even if that wouldn't be the case, because nobody really cares about the store. All you got to do is click See Seller's Items, and you can see everything they got, which is exactly what the store is. A store benefit is getting the listings, cheaper. That's the only benefit of a store in my book. I could care less about the store itself, because anybody can click on your items. And again, if you ever want to see a store, anybody's store from your phone, that's all you got to do is just save it as a favorite seller. And that option is on everybody's phone that I have seen to look at saved sellers, and you can go to their store. I mean, that's how easy that is. Once you find an item from a person, you can click on that as well too. You got to know their name to get to their store from your phone in the first place, which you can do from your home. That's what I do. Let's go on down. Yeah, eBay used to give out a lot of free listings. I mean, once you get a certain store level, you rarely get them, I can tell you for sure. Hey, Annie, how are you doing this evening? Jackass Retro, I followed your advice on the scanning about a year ago and will never go back. The scanning, once I've got the duplex, found one that works and the whole works. Popeye I got the same basic one that Popeye had. I don't know if you know Popeye's postcards. He's no longer with us on YouTube over some issues. I've had some people ask that on me too, on what happened to Popeye. I'm not going to shout it out, but I did tell a few people what the story was with Popeye. I liked Popeye. He seemed like a real good guy. Jackass Retro, I've got an 18-inch flatbed, and if you really want to scan a poster, it's doable if it's an expensive poster. And I just use the stitch option, and it'll stitch it all together. It's a artist scanner. It's a big flatbed. It's bigger than any one you've probably seen. It's 18 inches one direction, and I think it takes 6 passes to get I think that's what I did on the last poster, 6 different images at a time, and then it'll stitch them together if you ever really want to do that. If you're gung-ho and you know somebody around, there's a art place in town that I know fairly well, and they've got a flatbed that'll take a 41 by 20. It fits like 45 by, I don't know, 40 or something like that. So you can put a poster in there. It's a digitized, I don't know, Lord knows what that costs. It's probably, $5,000 for that thing or more. They've got a half toner and all kinds of stuff in there, if you know what a half toner is. It's a daylighter product is the manufacturer on those. Let's see here. Yeah, I figured Duncan scanned everything like that. I scan at 600 DPI, and I figured that works the best. I know people say you don't need it that high, but I always do it that high because sometimes I save the images, and I don't want to have to worry about which one I scan at which way. The wife pulls some out too, and we've got files of images to use for like illustrations and books and things like that. I do pull a copy of all the ones we intend to use. I got tens of thousands of images of stuff we've saved over the years. Hang on, let's pop on down here. How about advanced listing upgrade fees? Worth it? If you're talking about like bold titles and highlights and things like that, I never use any of those ever. Keywords is all I worry about, honestly. Keywords and photo and price. Those are the three. That's the 3 things that are tied. It's like the foundation of every single listing. Keywords, your title, your price, and your image. All that has to be good for me to even worry about it. I never list in 2 categories at the same time either, ever. If I want to do that, what I'll do is I'll do a long tail route, and I'll list in 1 category. If it doesn't sell, I'll switch it over in like 2-3 months into the other category and do, just let it run there. If I have, like, let's say I'm listing a bulk in the same niche category or something, and I've got 60 of the same stuff that would go in the exact same category, I'll list 30 in 1 category and 30 in the other, and then in the description box, I always state that I got many more up, similar or whatever the case. I always put a statement in there. I know phone users don't read that as much. Sometimes I do put that up into the condition box because they can see that, at least on an Android, just by, looking at the main part of the listing. They don't have to click on something else. Until eBay dings me for it, I'm still going to do it, just FYI. It doesn't say you can't, so I'm not going to, deal with that part. Let's see here. What is it, 5,000? I have a new feature on my store where you can auto send out offers on future watchers. Just noticed it today. Yeah, I saw that too. I haven't touched it at all. I'm not an auto. I don't like the auto part personally. I probably wouldn't use it, only because I like to look at certain facts, and I don't want to spend the time when it comes in. It all depends on the specific item, how long it's been up, and all that kind of stuff. I just like to send them out. I don't know. It's just my thing. I don't like the percentages either. If it gives you a chance to send a specific dollar, maybe, but I don't think I'd mess with anything for bulk. I don't do the bulk send out on any of my offers to watchers. If I got 100 offers, we send them 1 at a time. I just feel it does better result-wise instead of just sending them out with screwball numbers. I always try to put it like the 99 cents or somewhere in that range, so it looks less. Like instead of $10, I'll always do in the $9 somewhere range. If it's $30, I always do 29 something, and those are usually what I do. And it does have a perceived value. It does work. That's why retail adopted that. I mean, I've worked in retail for a long time. Wife took marketing classes. Never said that before, but she took marketing classes for a few years too. So, we follow all proper, marketing thought. All that's been studied. There's doctoral studies on some of these, the thesis and the whole works that I've looked at even. Do you think there will be a big shortage of shipping supplies this year? Carl Klassenix. We were worried for just a little while there because Walmart doesn't. I don't always get them from Walmart. I try to get a skid, but the problem with getting a skid, which it's usually a half a pallet of them, and it's like a 4-foot stack of boxes. Usually I'd go in with somebody on a whole pallet, an 8-foot tall pallet or something. But the other folks aren't selling as much. They're in some category issues, and I don't have anybody that wants to go in as quickly as I need to go in and buy them, and I don't really want to buy a whole pallet. The supplies are out there. The local people here are still making them. They sell them locally all the time. Their businesses up like 50 or 60%, some higher number. Again, because people like me are now going to them more so than anywhere else. I go where the price is cheapest. If I have to go to Walmart for something, I usually look for boxes and buy them. I only buy the 14, 12s, and then what's the other one? 14, 12, 10 or something like that. They changed the sizes twice. The best ideal size that I like are the 14-inch cubes, which I usually, as I said, get as a pallet if I can, and then the 12-inch cubes. Those are the ones I use the most of if I'm going to get boxes. I don't think there'll be a shortage because all the stuff that's going on can be produced locally to some extent, as long as they can still get the material itself. And I don't seeing anybody stopping, box manufacturers. I called around. We were worried when Walmart didn't have them, and then my other guys were having issues and stuff. So I looked into it. I don't see an issue anytime in the near future anyway. I would always keep a back stock. I always have hundreds and hundreds of boxes extra sitting around. Always. I never want to run out. Like if I'm sending out 78s, I usually do bulk discounts on them. So we sell a whole bunch all at once. And you got to have boxes, and I don't want to have to worry about cutting and, getting box cutter out and all that kind of stuff. It takes more time. I just like to be able to have the boxes. And I'd rather have some money sunken into some boxes than not being able to send them out properly. I'm anal retentive on sending stuff out in the mail. I pack everything to the tilt. Nothing's going to get damaged unless somebody's really trying hard on the stuff we send out. Hey, Midwest Picker, how you doing this evening? Let me slide down here. Yeah, hit the like button. I never think to even say that out sometimes until I see it in the chat there. I just kind of get wrapped up in the conversation. If you're enjoying the conversation, please do hit the like button. It does help with some contact on the channel as well. Shane just got notified. Yeah, I said earlier I didn't put this up until the last minute. It was like 20 minutes or so before I even went live, and honestly, I wasn't sure if I was going to go live and stuff. We have something going on and got some phone call today that wasn't the greatest phone call. So anyway, I don't mind Home Depot boxes, but I can get them half the cost. And the boxes from the box maker are literally identical. The only difference is it says the box maker's name or they're just totally plain. I don't like labels on the boxes. Like if I'm getting the Walmart ones, they're always cut up. I almost never send one out as a Walmart box. I usually just cut them down, and even when I wrap them up, I wrap the printing on the inside. And if I use them with the cardboard being the outside surface of the mailing item, like if I send out a sheet music, it's cardboard on the outside. I always fold it in so you can't see the Walmart. It's a pet peeve of mine. I hate the stamping on the boxes. If the box manufacturer were cheap, the cheapest one every time, I'd always buy it from them because I usually just get them unprinted. Unless they got a sale going on, then I'll take the printed ones. Sometimes they'll run like extra, or a buyer won't pay for them, and they'll mark them down, and I'll buy out the unpicked up ones. It's just like when you go to Home Depot and you buy their paint, the oopses or whatever they want to call them at your one. You can buy boxes like that occasionally too if you get in good with the box makers. Sometimes they got like big clients that already take any of those ones just because they use them for internal boxes and shipping and stuff. But sold a Stanley Gibbons advertising British cover from 1884. If you don't, Stanley Gibbons is the British price guides, basically. They have guides to the stamps. I have a set of Stanley Gibbons actually up here. I don't know if they still make them. I'd imagine they do, but most of the earlier books that you find, especially if they have world stamps in them, most of the ones I see are either standard or Stanley Gibbons. You might run into some semi-newer ones from like Scott or Harris or something like that, but I do keep... Stanley Gibbons runs a different set of stamp identification numbers than you would to a Scott's catalog. So Duncan probably has both sets if he's using that. In England, they use Stanley Gibbons. Not all the time. Some people know both of them, and some people have both sets. A good set of brand new stamp price guides. That is one guide I do own. I don't own new ones. I only own the older ones that I get real cheap at like halls and stuff. And I only own a copy of them. And if I get a new one, I get rid of the old one, and I keep the newest versions I can get for the cheapest amount. Because all I need is identification on foreign stamps, basically. And most of the time, as long as you know what country they're from to start with by looking at the stamp, you can go to the stamp book and you can get their number, and then it's easier to find. If you can't find it and it has a date on a stamp, I just use the date to do it. I'll do type in the country name, the date, and just the denomination number of the stamp, and usually you can track them down fairly well too. I use several stamp sites also. Dow Camps is one of the ones. I think Duncan actually uses them as well too. Midwest Picker, nice beard, Don. My wife told me veto when I tried. Laugh out loud. I'm not, my wife doesn't care if I've got one or not, I guess. You'll get to see me without one shortly here for Halloween, just FYI. I'm going full out for Halloween. If you're unaware and you're not on my Instagram page, the Halloween, I'm giving away some good stuff for Halloween. Kind of a 3 million views we hit, and a 25,000 subscriber giveaway, I guess you'd say, all tied into a Halloween show. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on for that. It's going to be the most advanced show I've done. I'm shooting video ahead to intermingle and stuff, but there is going to be a real nice giveaway. for that. It's not just a simpleton giveaway. It'll be something really, really nice. The winners and all are going to be announced on Instagram, and the only exemption from that would be those in Patreon. You don't have to, do that just because you're already on one of my platforms. I do share or have the ability to share from Instagram to Patreon for that matter. So anyway, but that'll be the date to watch. Again, it's hopefully going to be the best show for live show I've had. I'll be in full makeup. So anyway, full costume, full makeup, the whole works, head to toe. I've got a professional grade costume that we had. It's tailored to me. I hate the ones that don't fit. This one's tailored this time, so. And it's something I'll probably end up keeping. Hey, Aaron, how you doing this evening? If you can't get end cuts, this is Carolina Pick Sterile. Try a local printer, paper supply company. I get 4 rolls that are 5 feet across for $125. It lasts me a year. So these are probably, I would gather, like 600-800 foot rolls that are 5 feet across. I can buy the big rolls if I want to too. Always go to a box place in my book. Don't ever buy it off eBay. Even if it looks like it's a good deal, you can always get it for half the cost. Even those $30, $40 bundles that you see for like 500 feet. The stuff's small. It's usually, I can get anything I want from the box people here much cheaper than online any day of the week. Just your local ones. You'll probably have to pick it up unless they have a route near your house, or you buy a skid or pallet or something else like that. But that's Daryl's giving you another good example there. If you can't get the end cuts, end cuts are always the best though. Patrick, how are you doing this evening? Joe, you ever get so overloaded with merchandise at once that you can't list it all? Has literally been a sourcing haven here in Bradenton, Florida. I know Bradenton very well. My uncle used to live on 19th Avenue West. We used to go to and stay in Dunedin up on alternate 19 near Honeymoon Island. We used to go out there quite a bit. You could swim with the dolphins just in the wild out there too. You can pick up live sand dollars and starfish out there on Honeymoon Island. Love that area. I know Bradenton very, very well, actually. I'm always full. We've got so much stuff I could probably not buy for 2 years, probably, and not hesitate at all. I don't know. Maybe it's more than that if you count all the records and stuff. I am bulking out some items just for space, if nothing else. I'll show a shot of where we cleared out one of these days, maybe on one of the pages, because I've got a big blue screen that covers like a 20-foot area now. Blue screen. I got a blue screen, green screen, red screen, so we can mix and match stuff. But let's talk just a few minutes here about burnout, because everywhere I go, that's a question that's always brought up to whoever I'm watching or whoever I'm talking about. And that was even brought up last night on Dom's show. Burnout. I honestly don't get burned out from doing this, and I've done it for 25 years, I guess you would say at this point. I may have a different story as everybody else. My parents never had money. I literally never had money. I was bullied beyond belief as a child. I had a horrible childhood. I came home to a brother that was twice my size and just was nasty. He pinched me till I bled when I don't even want to get into it. But the point of it is, there's been times where altercation could have led to some really awful things with my brother. And then when I had jobs, I never had a super high paying job when I first started out. I always had to work my butt off. Before I did reselling full time, I worked in foods as a general manager, a regional manager, and you're working 80 hours, 90 hours a week on bad weeks. And if I compare that to what I did, in the fact that I didn't have as much money as I do now with all those hours and all the stuff I did, I don't need any more motivation. I don't need anything else other than my wife and kids and where I used to work. All I got to do is think about that. All the bosses that were just awful people or were just bad at their job, or the guy just graduates, he's your new regional when you're a general manager, comes into the store, doesn't know what he's talking about. And, I do so much better if I'm in control of something than that as well. I've never been so happy and stress-free compared to any other job I've ever had in my life. I'm sure there's people who get bored, I'm sure there's people who get burned out from doing it. I don't know what it would take to get me burned out. I don't know. I think about that occasionally. It's still a shocker, even after we've done this now for full time for almost 10 years, that I wake up sometimes once out of the blue moon thinking, oh man, I'm late for work, because I used to get calls in the middle of the night and all kinds of stuff. And if the store was robbed or this truck didn't show up or something, I'd get calls at 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I don't know. I for me, if I'm out here working, I always have like music loud. I get into the music. I'm a big music buff, so I can listen to the music and type away and, bang to the music, I guess. Or there might be a movie on or something in the background too with the big screen or something, and anybody can watch it while they're working or something. You got to like what you're doing in my book. And I know there's people who say passion is for suckers. Mike Rowe's got a video here on YouTube saying that. I'm not dinging on Mike Rowe per se, but the comment that passion is for suckers, I like what I do. It makes me more motivated to do what I do, being in love with what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do because I do enjoy it. It's exciting to see stuff, rescuing stuff. It's almost like you're treasure hunting. I wish my dog wasn't down here today. Hang on, I got to keep checking messages. We have something going on, as I said, family-wise. Sorry. But you got to find something that drives you, in my opinion. You got to have a vision and a drive to do something. I don't care what it is, whether it's reselling or not. Get into a groove. You like working with somebody or you like a certain spot. Big problem with people is if they do the same thing in the same spot every day. And you can figure that out yourself too. If you list in the same spot every day, move outside sometimes. List outside. List on your back porch or something, or on the deck outside or something. Move upstairs. Move downstairs. Try a different spot to list. Music always helps me. If I want to just relax and I got to drive somewhere, I enjoy cranking the music up, rolling the windows down, and just vegging out on the road for a few minutes as I get to wherever I got to go. For me too, it's not boring because it's always something different that rolls through our hands. If I'm out sourcing, it's always something new. It's always something unique. It's always a new opportunity. I enjoy the challenge of figuring out what's the best way to title something, or what's the best pricing scheme for something, or where would be the best, again, I guess going back to where would be a good place to list something. I like trying to figure out where something sells for the highest price. Just like platforms. It was enjoyable to try and figure out that this item sells better on Amazon, this item sells better here, this item sells better there. Because you can sell the same item on so many platforms. There are specific places that, you'll do better with. It's just a given. And some items it's better to list a bunch all at once, and there's all kinds of different factors, and I enjoy trying to figure that out. I know a lot of people, they hate the end of the month. Most people, hopefully you're doing end of your month, you're doing your figures. I always have to put in payroll on the first of the month for the prior 2 weeks, so I always pay attention to it. I always do all my paperwork on the same day, end of the month. So I don't mind doing that. I like to see where the numbers shake out at the end of the month. I usually have projections for several categories. I've got a goal set. I always set a goal for every month, and it's always enjoyable to know if I'm making that goal. And some people have like to have a goal that somebody else is competing with them with, and sometimes that's helpful too if you get together with other folks. When you work in restaurants or retail a lot, what we would do, I was a regional, so I would set up competitions between stores, not necessarily based on like-to-like volume, like stores doing the same amounts, but certain percentages of increase in amount of new customers or how many people they can get through in an hour. You run like head count figures. You'll run how many customers pass through a certain cash register in an hour, and those are competitions that we could do and you could run, and the managers would set up like a bonus if the girls or whoever was running a cash register at the time met a certain quota or certain figure and stuff. We didn't do that. They didn't have to do that all the time. It wasn't like they were always forced to hit these high numbers, but we'd run contests and stuff. And that always helped out with morale and things like that too. With the general managers, even the assistants. So the general manager would give the assistant a bonus. It wasn't something huge, but $100, $50, whatever it happened to be at the time. And they usually came out of the store bonus pool and stuff like that. So it didn't hurt the manager, any of the managers, like the general manager. It didn't come out of his pay or anything. But it was always motivation, because then the assistant manager would be trying to get the staff to go well, and the staff would have a bonus out of it too. We usually gave them free lunch too, or dinner, or whatever the case may be. But motivation is good. One thing other people do trying to get motivated for burnout is something that I personally see is they'll take a break and stuff like that, or treat themselves to something. The only thing I would say about that is a lot of people kind of get lost in the time of it. It's a waste of time. You're losing money if you're spending too much time breaking, if you break all the time. I had some conversations, not bad, just conversations with folks about finding it hard to list 100 items a day. If you're in a groove with anything and you got the right items, I can easily list 100 items a day. I can list almost 30 items in an hour, depending on what they are, or more, depending, again, what the items are. But, again, you got to enjoy it. I run in my head a contest if I can get so many done in that hour. And again, sometimes I might list for 10 straight hours and eat while I'm working and stuff like that, too. And for me, it's a rush to see at the end of the day, like, hundreds and hundreds of listings up in one single day by just me. It's a rush. I don't know what everybody else gets out of it, but what that means is I'm going to get a bunch of money coming in real quick if I get a bunch of listings up. Before we started to make it, before all the money started rolling in like it was, people ask me, when did you hit a point where stuff started rolling in? Before that, if we were short on rent or short on whatever back in the day, 10 years ago, whatever the case may be, all we'd have to do is bust our butt for like 3 or 4 straight days and list every single thing we could in that time frame. And sure enough, a bunch of money always comes in, because the more you list, the more you sell, as long as it's good items. I sell a certain percentage of everything I list the day I list it. Every time I do that. Every single time. Again, we only list better items. I don't try to list cheaper stuff. So anytime we've ever needed money in the past, again, this is why I still love eBay itself. I don't care so much for the people running it, but I still love the fact of eBay. Every time we were short from my regular job, or we got hit with the car repair we couldn't afford, eBay always covered us. Always. Always. And I'm not exaggerating. It's not like sometimes. It's every time. eBay has pulled us through some dire situations for over the last 20 plus years. Just made our day and quickly, as long as you're listing the right stuff, bins, buy it now, or whatever you're doing. 1-day auctions we used to have to do sometimes. 3-day auctions, not ideal, but again, if you need money, you do what you got to do to get the money coming in. And we've learned the hard way from just doing this for that long, that you do what you got to do. Motivation, though, for some people, I can't give everybody a motivation for it. All I can say is if you've done a really bad, worked for some really bad people, or just the job was miserable, or you worked so many hours and never made much for it, that's what I bank what I'm doing now against. I brought this up before, too. We'll go back to questions, and I'll go back through the chat in just a minute here. Cinderella Man. I don't want to keep calling this out, but there's a scene in there where he's fighting, and he's down and out, it looks like, and his visions in his head are his kids and not being able to eat, and the dire shape of where they had to live, and the bread lines. I mean, I just think about not being able to feed my kids sometime and the family. And we've been to a spot where we didn't have much money to even buy groceries. So, I've been there, and it doesn't take much for me to be able to, bring that back into thoughts. And, I'm done. I don't get upset or worried or burned out when I'm doing this, just because I know where I came from with this. I know what it was like before this, and I'll do anything I can to never have to go back to a state where I have to work for somebody in those situations. Had I been working in the food industry right now, I wouldn't be working. So a regular job, and I've said this for 10 plus years, a regular job is not protection. It's not secure these days at all. I brought this up. My wife just delivered our first son, my oldest son, Tim. And I was working at a resort, and they let me go right after she delivered it. I saved up. I didn't take a vacation. I was their, and I'm not trying to be bragging, I was their best employee. I was promoted. I ran it from a start position, ran the place. My wife was the second in command. I was the weekend managers and stuff. And because of everybody, we knew everybody there. And, they let me go to restructure the park. They changed it from a certain type of clientele to a different type of client. It was a huge resort. It was 642 acres. Long story short, I put in 2 years, never took a day off, and once my wife was pregnant, I said, well, we're just going to hold that up, and they literally let me go. Not only did they let me go, I was calling. I had already got 3 of my weeks off, paid weeks, because again, I had 2 weeks of vacation from the first year, 2 weeks from the second year, and I saved them up. We didn't go anywhere. We needed the money. We were trying to go through school back in the day, and that's why we didn't finish school. With my wife, we had a child, and this is true. This is really what happened. And I was calling to get my schedule, and I call, and he said, I got some bad news for you. And I'm like, okay, what? We're changing the park over. Mind you, I had like 3 days before I was supposed to come back. He told me to call a certain day, and, he could have told me the day I left so I had time to look for a job. Didn't do that. And they knew it. They knew it. That's what drove me nuts. You're never secure in a regular job. My brother, not that I get along with him, but my brother worked at the University of Toledo for many years, and they just closed his department down, and no job. They had no spot to send him. Everybody in that department was out of job. The days of working for the same company, for the most part, again, maybe if you're in a car factory or something like that, it might be different, but burnout rate's really high in those kind of places sometimes too, depending on your pay. But motivation, you take what you got for a motivation. Get yourself some goals. Know where you want to go with this. Knowing that you may only have to suffer and work hard for a certain, just bust it every single day for a certain length of time is a good push, because once you hit a mark or a certain percentage of money coming in, you can slack off. And that's your break, that's your goal, that's your driving factor to get you motivated, to not be burned out at this. I like coming and hopping down to the office as soon as I get up. That's usually the first thing I do. If I'm going to eat or drink something, it's looking at stuff going on so I'm not wasting time. I'm getting older. At a certain point, I'd be hard-pressed for someone my age to go out and find a decent job in the first place. They're going to hire somebody much younger and what they would assume was faster and stuff like that, too. So, you take what you can get and you work with what you got. I wish there was a better motivation to give you, but, you're going to have to find it in yourself, something that drives you, is my opinion. Money may be it for you. If that's it, fine and dandy. The fact that you got more money coming in, the harder you work. That's a plus for me. I like to know that everything we've got, and I mean every single thing I got, we earned ourselves. Every single dime of that, I hard worked for. Nobody gave me a dime to start this. Nobody anything. We worked up from just a few bucks in our pocket and selling what we had around the house, and started from there and reinvested every dime we could into getting it going. I'm not going to talk too much longer here, but let me slide down here. Kathy, I went looking in the animal category after your video and could not believe what I have been missing. The animal category it's a huge category. And I tell people, list this in the title, list that in the title. I probably should have said, hey, looked at that category before, because I use it all the time. I just don't always think, hey, maybe you don't know that. I've played around with, over the past 20 some odd years, I think every category under collectibles or antiques that there is. Every single. I can't think of one, even down to textiles and stuff like that. I do the medical, the quack section, hardware. I honestly don't think there's been a section I haven't listed something in. Prize categories, the promo categories, there's not one that I can't think of. The ethnical section of it, cultural and ethnical. I use every category I can possibly imagine, and as I said, I do try to figure out which one garners me the most money. Some items, depending on, again, like frogs or possums or something like that. I know it sounds like a crazy thing to think about, but I always look for those things. The more realistic the item, usually, the better I do, and I usually list them in the animal category. Again, because people don't, if they're looking for frogs, they'll either just type a frog into a collectibles category, frog as an open search. There's far too many items for them to even remotely think about looking through, so they almost always center it down. eBay does highlight for some animals. They don't do it for all. I don't know how they figure out which one does it or not. Sometimes it'll actually give them category just for the amphibians, frogs, or like a specific dog breed like pug dog. Pugs are very, very highly sought after items for us. I pretty much always put pug in the title of every single thing if there's a pug dog in it. I don't care how old, how new, whatever. Pug's always going into the title. Frog, always going into the title. Lizards, insects, butterflies. There's stuff in the animal section that goes for thousands of dollars. Just all kinds of oddball stuff. And that, honestly, I think is the most central location to find those kind of items in there, if you're not looking for anything other than something that's frog-related or dog-related or whatever the case may be. Now, obviously, there's some exceptions. Like if you've got a postcard that has a pug dog and he's standing on a World War I battleship and it's the mascot of the ship, that one has to go either in military postcards or in the military photo section. Those are the two categories I would always list those things in. You can almost be assured you will get more money in those two categories than anywhere else for something that specific. So again, it comes down to and again, I got the pick categories here. I'll dig into that because now I'm discussing this and it kind of touches on what you were saying to some extent, Charles. So anyway, let me go back down here. I don't want to just ramble on. Well, thanks, Shane. Yeah, if you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. It looks like some other channel just got done with the video, and we've just been dumped in from another channel since I just instantly got 400 watchers. I think last time it was Cutie Pie or PewDiePie, whatever his name is. I don't follow a lot of that stuff, but that would be my guess in what just happened. Not really liking managed payments when it comes to the accounting part, to be honest. It works, but when you have refunds, it's unclear where the money is coming from. Maybe I can show that in a video. I dug into all that, as I said, because I wasn't going to trust eBay on what was going on, but I've been paying attention to the refunds and all that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll show it in a video if I can figure out how to block everybody's names or accounts or anything like that, because I don't want to give away any personal information like that. I'm fine with managed payments, I'll have to say it. And again, anybody who knows the channel for any length of time knows I'm not a big fan of people running eBay and the decisions they make. But I'm okay with the structure and the way it's going as of right now. With the free listings, again, we're saving like $1,500 a month or some high amount figure based on all the stores we got. With the amount of free listings, the ZIFs, the zero insertion fee listings. I'm actually happy with what's going on this year. I see Dom back on here. I was just telling Dom, we hit our projections for this entire year already. I've already hit what I was projecting I would make with Shopify and everything else opened already for this year. And again, that's one of my motivation things here. I anything from now on is beyond anything I expected. So if the world, not the world, I don't want anything to happen bad, but if something goes haywire, I still have my figures already. I already hit them. And I got 3 months left. It's October 1st. I got 3 months left. And in the 9 months through this year, I hit my projections. I've never done that before, ever. Never. This summer has been just phenomenal for very, very good reasons. Well, not good reasons, I should say. But with the pandemic, it's actually helped my business. Again, I never would wish that to happen because we now have lost somebody who, died of COVID. So I'm not going to, I don't wish any ill harm on anybody. But business-wise, it's been going really well, and I'm just like shocked that that's the case. Again, that's motivation for me to keep this whole thing rolling down, because when you get to a certain part, and this is for anybody out there, if you're finally getting up to like 5,000 listings, 10,000 listings, I really hope you can feel what I feel when we get to like plateaus. You can feel that you're right there at the precipice of something. You're right there at the tippy spot of where it's going to just break out for you, and you can feel it. And I don't know. It's a rush to me. It's a big rush thinking about stuff like that, because we're so close to stepping up a whole level in business and income and everything else. I'm just like teetering on that brink up there, and I've got some other stuff going on in the news. We've got a possible purchase on something, and you got to have some motivation and goals. I don't know about everybody else, but I just wished everybody would have that feeling, that rush, that I don't know what to say. It's passion into what I do. Let's see here. Listed 2 times as both. Listed 2 times in both. I assume you're talking about 2 different stores. Google it, and there's a box manufacturer up the road, left, right. I had no idea. Jay. Don, I need to get you a book to keep all your notes in. This way you don't have to have so many scattered post-its. I know where all my post-its are. I know I'm probably behind in the comment section. I know where all my post-its are. This one ties to this PC. That one ties to that one. Those are over there. I got another one over here. I've got some sitting next to my camera. It's not clutter to me. I guess it would drive everybody else nuts. It drives the employees nuts, but I always know which one I'm looking for, I guess. I've got hundreds of posties. And then when I'm done, I usually tape them in a book. Or if I don't feel like writing them down, I've got a notebook, and I'll just tape the posties. I cut them up. I got them all over the place. I mean, I don't know if you can see those because it's yellowish green, but I mean, there's posties everywhere. Posties on video topics and things I need to search. There's posties on giving credit and things like that too. So I live on posties. I don't know what I would do without posties, honestly. Jeffrey Smith. I shouldn't be out of focus. I know yesterday's video was, I didn't realize it until the last minute, and then it was either post it or don't post it, and the content I figured was the most important part, so I did post it. I've never figured out what happened with that. I looked into that earlier this morning. Maybe I touched the lens and didn't realize it and smudged it. I don't know. But that's a green screen in there, so it's a camera issue. The camera's fine, as you're seeing. It's here right now, but do apologize if that's what you're referring to. That was not my intent, of course. Annie Caroline Picks, you get bubble wrap from a printing paper place. I read that eBay may be creating customizable a la carte store option with dozens of options with bonuses to sellers with over 10,000 in sales. Wasn't e-commerce bites? Yeah, I didn't even have a chance to look at that. They did a survey the other day, and they were, I'm not going to go into the details, I didn't take the survey. I'm done with messing my time in fourth quarter with any of their surveys. Because it was a long one from everybody told me. And one of the last ones I did was like 10 minutes, and I'm not going to waste 10 minutes. You know, I made it sound ridiculous, but I'm not wasting 10 minutes on anything right now unless I have to. That may be okay. It may not be okay. It's hard to say. I'll have to read into that a little more. Yeah, I don't throw any of those out. Yeah, so Shane's talking about notebooks. I do honestly have a bunch of notebooks. Annie, the scanner will make you so happy for Magic the Gathering cards. Oh yeah, you can line up a whole bunch, and you can set up the scanner I got. If I put if 20 things will fit on there with enough space to do a 1/4 inch around each one, I can hit a button. It'll scan each one separately. Scan them all at once too, and scan them, and I'll have a separate file for each one of them all at once. And you flip them over carefully, and you keep them in the same basic spot. It'll line them up the same way as well too. So. 1870 Great Britain, 3-row stamp pair set to New Zealand right now. That would be the cancellation he's talking about. I know I want a feeder and a flatbed. When I hit 4,000 listings of sales to match, I think I will get either or both. Yeah, if you're not making the money off of it, don't rush to get something right away. But the duplex scanner, you can get a used one. I have a Epson DS510, and you can get one for around $100 used. Just make sure it has the cable. Well, they're standard cables, but I would always make sure it at least has the power supply cable, because those are very specific. In some cases, if you plug a power supply into the wrong item, you can burn that item out. Just never ever mix them up. Like my lighting, I've got these big panel lights. They're like full-fledged studio lighting. And each one has a different, I spray painted the cord, the adapters, so I know which item, which one goes to. They're different grade on a couple of them. I've got like 5 panel lights now. And the camera, the same thing, because we've got a bunch of DS 5300s, the Nikons, and I want to make sure I don't mix any of the packs. They all look the same almost, so every one is spray painted to match a specific camera or something. if you've done a lot and you have electronics and lighting and all the other stuff over a lot, making sure you've got the right cords is key. You don't want to burn up a camera, you don't want to burn up a mic or something. Whatever you got in there, power supply running it through the wrong item can kill it real quickly from what I've seen. I'm going to end it in just a few moments here. Back to the app with the store on the your phone app. The phone app is not a complete application. It's missing like a majority of eBay. It's a broken down version that's made to be able to handle it on a phone. That's one reason why I don't use the phone for anything. The one thing I could say is, yes, you can find it on there, and if you know an item they're selling, you can just go to that item and go to their items as well. Again, the store factor in my book is not having the store per se. It's the money that I'm saving by having the store. It's the same basic principle whether you look for a store or you just look at this what the seller's selling. Look at the items the guy's selling or the girl's selling, or whoever's selling it, and you can see everything in their store. I don't really care if they see my store per se or not. They're gonna watch an item or they're gonna watch a seller, and that's what I do when I follow or watch somebody, or I want to, I'm conversing with somebody. Like all the supplies that I buy routinely off eBay, they're all saved as a seller or as a watch as a seller. And I can pull those up anywhere. It's the only reason. I'm not a big phone person. I honestly don't recommend anybody who wants to do this full time to just strictly use a phone personally. Whatever kind of phone you have, it's incomplete, the application. You can only do so many things. I wouldn't even begin to know how to do a store the size, even my smaller store, the size with the phone. I wouldn't have a clue. It wouldn't be practical, feasible, or anything else. I know I can print from my phone and stuff like that if I want to. We've got a network, so anything that logs into the network I can connect with and do anything I want with it. I can send images to the TVs. They're all wired. We haven't had satellite or regular TV in like 20 years now. Honestly, we cut the cord like 20 years ago, and everything's wired in. If it's not internet accessible, anything, I don't get them anymore. It's just me. No, Popeye is just doing fine. He had a scammer take very bad advantage of him, and I'm not going to go into any more details. He's a nice guy. He didn't deserve what happened, and privately I may shout out. There's some folks I've told in the past. I saw his final goodbye, so I was sad to see that because he's a nice guy. I like people who are into similar things as I do, because they get it. Then they get why I get excited about seeing a postcard or something. The typical person looks at my channel, it seems these days, and just, it's not my kind of stuff. Where am I going to find that? And then they're gone. I like what I sell. I hated clothing, and I think that's part of the issue. I'm not saying you can't make money in clothing, but most of the clothing people where I live, they're pretty much out of business. Literally, they're not doing very well, because the stuff just doesn't show up, good clothing. And the garage sales around here now there aren't any. I know it's not really cold. It's cold enough to wear a long sleeve shirt. It was like 50 degrees this morning, but yeah, it would be nice if Popeye was back on, but yeah, I've talked to Popeye quite a few times. Popeye's a decent guy, as I said. The Epson 400, I think Popeye recommended that one. I try to get a 510 or newer, and we've got a couple Epson 510s, and I don't think I spent more than $100 for either one of them. Believe it or not, sometimes I have two people scanning at the same time, and that's how you get 1,000 listings up in a couple days. Is you scan and you have people scanning, and while they're scanning, they flip a card to somebody else, and that other person's listing while somebody else is scanning, and you keep doing that process till you get what you want up. I sell hundreds of items, so just for me to gain, I've got to list that many plus. So it's to keep the ball rolling, you have to increase your amount of listings as your sales increase. So if I sell an extra 100 items a month, I now have to list at least 100, 125 items, 150 items to gain ground on that. Now, I know listings isn't everything, but our goal is long tail. Our goal is passive income and quantity. Quantity rules in my world. Maybe not for everybody else. It may not be a thing for you. You may not be able to sit on it. You may not be able to hold it. But long tail works for me because I ship out less items than other people, but I get way more money for those same items because I don't mind waiting for it. And I try to get unique items, so it's usually a big plus for us too. I'm going to end it in just a few minutes here. We're going to pop on down. How do you manage Kovid signature policy for eBay? Item not received on items over $750. You know, I don't use the post office for high dollar items to the most part because I can still deal with UPS. We have an account with them, and I actually have our own rep with UPS. I can get the same rate or cheaper through my rep than I would pay through eBay the way they got it, and I would just have to print it off of eBay if I really wanted to. So, and if you didn't notice, if you go to your email right now, I saw an ad for anybody can get 40 some odd % off of UPS and things like that right this very second just by using a code, and you can use the code over and over again, and it was from a UPS post. So I don't know, maybe they've got some big push going on. Well, I can't show you now, but they're opening an Amazon warehouse and they're hiring here in our area, which wasn't a good sign in my book. But is anyone else having super slow sales? I have 379 items listed and I'm barely getting a sale a day, sometimes 0 on days. Throwback thrifty. Again, quantity solves those problems for us. We've got 79,000 listings, I want to say, total up of all of our stuff up right this minute. Our sales are going up. I'm up right now. I'm up from last week. I'm up from last year. I'm up from the week before that. As we fast approach it, I'm just moving around and playing with what we're listing. Crafters are still buying, and that's where a large chunk of what I am selling is going to crafters. Again, I had 4 multi-sales today where 4 different people bought like 11, 8, 7, 9 items. Each one of them bought that amount of items, and they're all the same type of items. I play up what's going on, so we'll list heavy certain items during certain times of the year. What they're buying right now, these are folks that are going to turn these into things for Christmas in the next 30 days. And then they will turn around and relist them wherever they're going to list them. I know one of the ladies that buys from me lists on Etsy very exclusive. I follow her store. She's actually made me something. I've hooked her up with some really good deals on Victorian sheets and stuff of die cuts and stuff like that. Where there's a will, there's a way, I guess I would say. I think it's going to look at what you got up there, Throwback Thrifty. Look at what you got up. Look at the titles. Look at your keyword searches on those as well. Those are usually deciding factors on what sells and what doesn't sell from my personal feelings and what I've seen in real life. Again, I've done this for 25 years. Again, it's not a brag. I've just done this for that long. I know there's not a brag. It's just a fact. It's factual. And I've played around with anything I could think of to garner me sales, increase my sales, figure out how to list faster or anything. And if I find something that works better than what I'm doing, I'll take someone else's advice and do it. I don't care as long as it saves me time and money. But I would seriously look at your items and go back in and check your comps again. If you're in a flooded category, you may need to do promoted listings. Again, I don't do any promoted listings. I don't have the need, but in certain categories, I would honestly recommend someone doing a promoted listing. Here's something else that a lot of people don't believe, but I've seen this posted from an eBay post. The amount of money you pay for a promoted listing does not guarantee, if you pay more than somebody else, that your item will appear in a better spot than their item. The goal of eBay's promoted listings is to promote the item that will have the highest chance of selling, not that pays the most money. I have seen that in several places. I've had people, pretty much confirm that. They did a small amount and somebody else did a large amount. Their item was on the first page even with a small amount. They had a better feedback. They had a bunch of other stuff going for them. They were listing every day. Their keywords were, a bunch of stuff going on with it. So I fully buy that as the case. So don't always just assume that if you throw a bunch more money at an item in a promoted listing that you're going to get a better chance in selling it. I would start off the smallest amount you can and then work your way up to see what works. Don't just assume the more money is going to give you the best deal. eBay has said in the past that they want items to sell more than anything else. They get a better return on doing these services if stuff sells better. They don't get a ton back if it's not going to sell. It's just more information that's tying up space on a server with tens and tens of millions of listings. So server space in some businesses can be a monetary factor. You know, if you don't have enough space, your upgrades and all kinds of stuff. I don't know. I haven't looked at eBay's quarterlies, the last quarter, close enough to look into them. But usually you can look at their quarterlies, and it'll give you like infrastructure investments, IT investment figures and things like that. And I look at those and I compare them from one quarter to the next usually. I do follow some stuff on Wall Street Journal and stuff like that too, and just my thing. I'm into that kind of stuff. I like to know where the markets are going, and it's the only way I can figure that out enough. Let's see here. I don't do subtitles. I never do subtitles, if that was the question on add-ons. I see subtitles mentioned somewhere. Yeah, and Barlight Broker saying subtitles don't show up on your mobile device. I don't know. I don't do enough on the mobile phone, but I don't do subtitles anywhere. Never. I never pay anything extra for any of that stuff. I honestly feel that the amount of research I've done on it, I'm like 99% sure that it doesn't matter for what I sell. Again, it may be different for you. Maybe you need to stand out. Maybe you need to bold it. I would personally think a bold or a highlight would do better than a subtitle in my book. Again, so many percentage of people are looking from their phone. You got to think of too. Keywords rules the game in my book. I can't say that enough. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button for it. I really like to get to 100. If we can get that number up to 100, that would be awesome for the evening. Let's see here. How do I edit 500 items? All I can sort by is 200 per page. Clarence, if you go down to if you're going to edit, you're mixing up two different things. 200 per page is the amount of listings that will show up. If you go up and you're on your items page in the hub, the far top left section, there's an edit box. You click, I don't have it open here, but you click that and it'll give you the option to edit 500 at a time. You click the 500. Now for me, if I showed you mine, it'll break them down for 25,000 items. So I'll have, what would that be? 30 different, well, more than that, like 60 different 500 groups I would have to do for all my store. And you can just edit them 500 that way. But the 200 per page is not related to how you edit. That's related to how many will show up in your hub just looking through your items. You don't want to look through your items to edit them in bulk. You want to go up to the top left, right on top, the first item on your items list, those 200. The top left, there's a little button with a drop down that says edit, I believe is what it says on the top. And you click on that, you slide down to the first option, should say 500 at a time. You can pick them by category, by selecting the items that show up in the category from your search criteria on your listing page in the hub. Hopefully that makes sense. Amazon seller Context makes a A2 size flatbed scanner, best one I've ever seen on the market, but it's around 12,000 last I checked. You're talking about the big monster ones. I'm guessing most of those are in the 10 grand. You can get a used one, though, on some of those. One of these days when our art goes a little better, we'll invest in the next step up. We spent like $1,000 on the scanner that we have. Not the one I use for scanning eBay stuff, but the one I scan for artwork. The colors look so much better. When I scan anything over 350 DPI, eBay will not let me upload the photo. They say it is too big. I have the Epson ES500W. 300. I'm not. It depends on what you're scanning. With a postcard or a trade card, I do 600 DPI. If I'm doing a whole flatbed size image, I do not do it that high. It just depends on the item, I guess I would say. Postcards and stuff like that, yes, I always do 600 DPI. I've never had it crack out in any of those kind of things when I'm uploading something like that. Let me pop down here. Yeah, as I said, I'm not a fan of mobile anything. Architects usually have the ability to scan large sheets because of a full color elevations and blueprints. See if local architects have the ability. The people that I have friends with, they do art as well, and a architect does come over there and use their equipment too. They're like relatives. I think they're from the same family or something. I do have access if I wanted, but I know somebody who has one, and I do other things there. They've got silk screening equipment, so if I wanted to print a shirt or something and shoot a screen real quick, I can do that too. I did silk screening when I was younger. We used to do the Michigan-Ohio games. I designed, if you lived in Ohio back in, say, 87, 88, in that range, in the Toledo area, or even in Michigan, Detroit area, I did the designs for the Ohio State Michigan football game that they sold at all the bars around here. I did the designs that they sold for a couple of years. That was like my first real cool gig that I made a lot of money without really having to do much on it. Let's just get to a couple more questions. 10 more likes. If we can get 10 more thumbs up, I would be super happy. I'm going to sign off in just a few moments here. Rob, how you doing? Thanks as well. Yeah, I see Annie saying the same thing. Yeah, I think he's talking about the amount of listings you can show on a specific screen, not in the edit section, I think is what he's talking about, Annie. That would be my guess, I think, because you can do 50, 100, and 200 that shows up on your list page. If you just go to listings, it only goes up to 200. The edit's the one that goes up to 500. I don't have any other option than edit the select ones that I choose or edit 500 at a time. That's how I have to do it. And I just click that edit, the group edit button. There's a group edit button. I can edit 500 at a time all day long. And that's how I do, like if I up a price $1 one month and then lower it the next month to get some traction on changing. And if you ever want to update your listings, don't again, sell similar. If you ever want to update your listings without having to do any of that junk and wasting the time, raise the price by $1 on 500 items at a time, 1 month, and then the next month come back in and lower them 500, or lower those 500 by that same $1. And it's going to change all your ranking and everything else with it, and it's going to update the listing whenever you do that. I've done that for a very long time. It does get you some traction, and it's easy. You can do 500 in a matter of, you bulk list them, you do 500 edit, you go up, you hit the price option after you click and highlight all the ones you want, and then you just add $1 to it. You can literally click it to add $1 to every single listing, and it automatically switches them all over. Yeah, I haven't seen the feedback issue, Duncan, at all. One other thing, and I've been looking at this quite a lot here. Hopefully somebody else will have a similar experience with this. Sometimes I know eBay is rotationally pulling and doing things with listings. What I'll notice, and I started writing them down just because I'll sell like 6 or 7 from the same little bin. All my items have a bin number in the title, certain items that I sell. So one day I'm sitting here looking, and all of those items are from like 2 different bins, and that's it. And they were all listed in a specific time, and I've been writing and keeping track of that. So there is something tied to, again, people say that, you'll sell similar and then the item's going to sell. I get the same results, and I'll be able to prove that that's what's happening and that I don't need to even worry about clicking and sell similar and delete and all that other crap. When they automatically relist, you get a boost. It happens on its own. eBay, end of 30 days and it's automatically rerun. I get a boost. And I can pretty much prove it at this point because they're all from the ones that just relisted that sold the night before. I've been writing them down for like 2 weeks now. Sure enough, the ones that end, 30 days is coming down to the last, they end. Next morning, I got some sales from those exact ones that ended. I'm not going to waste any time doing any sell similar, any of that kind of stuff at all. Time's money, and I see the same results from just sitting here and letting it happen. And the proof is in the pudding that a bunch of items that were just relisted sold, because again, I keep my, like P47 is one of the categories, and you can probably go back and look at some items that sold. P47 all relisted on the same day. And I sold 5 from that same category overnight. Now, what would be the option of why those sold? Again, the relisting put them back in someone's eye, and then boom. So the sell similar thing, it's the same thing as just letting eBay do it. And that's what I see. eBay's search criteria, their experience with what they've been doing is far superior than us being able to cheat their system. It's way too smart to let somebody game their system like that, in my opinion. Again, I have a degree in databases, database design construction. I took all that in college. I can't see logically why they would allow that to happen. You are probably just killing your static address, so if it shows up in a search result, they won't be able to find your item off eBay site. And again, I showed you 30% or more of every search going to an item on eBay is coming from off platform. If I want something, I usually just type it in Chrome these days, because there are other sources to get it. Weebles, the wife collects Weebles. I don't look just on eBay for Weebles, because I'll be missing Etsy, and even on Amazon, vintage Weebles show up. Just FYI. Hey Chuck, how are you doing? Mr. Hot Wheels. I never worried about a penny. If you're talking about boxes, yeah, I worry about a penny because I buy thousands of boxes, and it all adds up at the end of the day. If it's saving $50 a month because I'm saving a penny here, or 2 cents there, 3 cents there, I'm fine with that. At the end of the year, it's $600. Who wouldn't like an extra $600 at the end of the year? Let me pop on down here just a little bit more. Oh, you're talking about, yeah, $29.99. If you read up, you can literally type in their studies, and there's scientifically, data-driven studies that show that the average consumer will buy something at $29.99 over $30. They'll see $30, and they'll only see the $20 part when you're looking at $29.99. It's in the $20 range. It's a thing. It's been around for decades and decades and decades. It's a perceived value. It's a psychological effect. It's not for everybody, again, but yeah, I don't try to put that number in anything. And that's not deception practices at all. It's a common practice every single business on this globe does. It's a perceived value. It's not deception because you're not covering up the price. You're stating the price. It's just a perceived value. They perceive it differently. If you don't want to do it, that's your call, but I get more money doing that. Let's see here. Tons of backstock. Yeah, backstock gets in the way sometimes, but... Sixpenny Red's a British postage stamp. Queen Victoria, yeah, that's obvious. I love Queen Vic stamps. I've got a ton of Queen Victoria. One other thing I do see a lot of people mix up, being a seller in Victorian category, people will list items from the 1920s as Victorian items. I think she died in, 1901, I think. Anything after her death is not Victorian. It's called Victorian because Queen Victoria. Just FYI. A lot of people mix that up. I use stampworld.com to identify everything. I almost never have to ID most of the stamps these days. Once in a while, some really screwball country, or like a country that only existed for a few years or something, I might have to. But usually I'll just go to eBay because then I can get the price and everything at once. And usually I just judge it by the date, if there's a date on the stamp. But I'm pretty darn good on most stamps. Yeah, Duncan says he just IDs them on eBay. That's usually what I do too. I usually know like a series, or if it's U.S. stamp, I can ID any U.S. stamp probably, at least to the year it came out from, whether it's a banknote and all that kind of stuff too. If it has a grill, I'm usually really good on being able to get the grills off and everything too. I bought an estate collection, Dean Funderburk. I bought an estate collection for dirt cheap. I sold a China large dragon, and buyer returned it, said it was fake. I think I got taken. It is possible that there is a fake stamp in a book. That's one of the things you have to be semi-concerned with postage stamps. At least that's from my experience. I'm pretty good on fakes. I have a few fakes in-house, honestly. And they're usually like high-dollar stamps or something back in the day. Now, just because it's a fake doesn't always mean that you can't sell it. As long as you sell it's a fake. People collect fake of certain items, like fake colonial coins. They're collected and carry a value because a lot of those were made, like let's say a colonial pillar dollar or something like that. there was fakes that were made back then, but they're collectible because they're 200-year-old fakes, just like a 150-year-old stamp. Stamps are worth a lot of money, so you're going to get people that are going to fake them. Usually with fake stamps, and I can't say every time, but the majority of them, if it's a fake of a 19th century stamp, you can just use a black light, and you can tell the difference in the fluorescence of the paper. And that's usually what I've got, a black light. I use it just for stamps, vintage paper to tell some of the counterfeits, gum labels, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of fakes out there, so I weed out everything, and if I'm not sure, I don't sell it. At least not as an original. I always weed those out. But the dudes between, yeah, Annie's talking about the kings and such forth on them. I'm pretty good on those all. I've got a huge stamp book here. I've got a huge Australian collection of stamps, actually. I've probably got about 95% of every Australian stamp ever made in that book right now. Thanks, Dom. No, I'm not Gene Simmons this year. It's a surprise this year. Let's see here. So they will... 1860s dress or something. I like vintage clothing, so I don't mind that at all. Want to live in Don's backstock. I've showed some of it, but I mean, it's overwhelming to the wife, but to me, I'm under control with it right now. We are, as I said, getting rid of some records only because, God, I don't have the space for it. I don't think I got a video I recorded. We picked up like 8,000 more LPs. Maybe it wasn't 8,000. It was close to 8,000. I think maybe a month and a half ago. I don't think I did a video. Did I? I might have done a video on that. I don't remember if I did or not at this point. I got like 1,000 videos up, but we picked up a whole bunch more. So I literally have no space for them, and I'm just going to blow them out. I think we're going to sell them, we're thinking like 150 a record, just big lots of them. Kathy, I get a bit frazzled at times, but never burnt out. I love it too much. That's definitely me. Grading, I never worry about grading stamps. As long as you have... Hey, Henry. As long as you have a good image front and back, you should be good to go. If it's in a book and you're selling it as a book, it's a little hard to give specifics. But like with the counterfeit stamp, as I said, you got to know a little something about stamps. Usually with the vintage vintage stamps, you can usually tell. The quality is so far less what it is with original. You can usually tell. Maybe I'll even throw one in a video here, maybe on Patreon, to show some of that out. Yeah, and Daryl, same thing. Never get burnt out because I love the sales as well. I better let you guys go. My phone's still going off. I can hear it going off upstairs too. So I appreciate everybody coming on. Thank you all for the likes. I'm glad to have you all on. We hit 400 and I think it was 60 on at one time. I don't know if that's from another channel or not, or maybe just a lot of people online today. But I do thank you all for coming on. Hopefully you got something out of the conversation. If you want to know the easy fix for when a buyer says they can't pay for an item, just go to the very beginning of this. I talk about it in the first 5 minutes of the video. I may break up some of these live shows into segments and then post segments as well, so you don't have to watch the whole thing if you just want certain topics. I've been debating on doing that the last little while too. I think it'll be helpful for a lot of people who don't like to watch through a whole video to figure it out. And I think that option may be better than even putting in chapters like they're recommending. You can add chapters now all over the place. But I do appreciate everybody coming on today. Hopefully everybody is doing well. I don't know if I will have a video up the next couple days. There's stuff going on behind the scenes, so I don't know where things will fall. I have some already done, so if I can have somebody else post them, I probably will. But I do appreciate everybody coming on, and I hope you have a good day.